And I was blown away by the intimacy in this, especially that promise right there. With one glance, you captured my heart. Hey, y'all, welcome back to I can hardly stay still because I'm telling you, this Bible has me so excited. I came to Christ when I was 5 years old. I'm 61. I've been marinating in this love story, seems like since I was in utero, because my mom had me in church every time the doors were open. And I've always loved God's Word. Although as a kid, I saw it more as a rule book than a love story. And as a kid, I thought I've just got to be dutiful. You know, there was some abuse in my backstory. And so even though I heard the gospel clearly and I sang songs about amazing grace, I had the idea from an early age that I was dirty and damaged, and I knew God had saved me. But I felt like he saved me because that was in his job description, and I just needed to kind of keep my head down and do better and be better, because surely a perfect God like that couldn't delight in a damaged girl like me. Started vocational ministry right out of undergrad. I went to seminary in my 30s. Even then, somewhere in the corner of my heart, I still felt dirty. The book we're going to just briefly peruse today is a story God used to change my life. Was already walking with him for decades, but the Song of Songs, it's this amazing love story in the Old Testament that I didn't even think I was allowed to read when I was a young woman because I was single. I'm still single. If you know somebody between 60 and death who loves Jesus and is employed, that'd be cool. But as a single woman, I didn't think I could read the Song of Songs because I had heard it was all about sexual intimacy and marriage. And it does give us all kinds of amazing parameters and applications to sexual intimacy and marriage, but it's bigger than that. At the end of Luke's gospel, Jesus says all of that, and he's talking about the Old Testament, is about me. You've already seen this kind of red theme of redemption all throughout the Old Testament. And the Song of Songs, it's metonym and metaphor. It's about a marriage between a man and a woman. History tells us that it was about Solomon, perhaps written by Solomon or someone in his court. And it was about Solomon and Solomon's one true love. Her name, most scholars say, is Shulamite. And I'm just going to read kind of the beginning and the middle of their story. Remember, this is a real love story. There's a real marriage that occurs on these pages, but the application is about the kind of intimacy we can have with our divine bridegroom, Jesus. Remember, Isaiah uses marriage as a metaphor. God is not just our Redeemer, he's our husband. So think of that as you hear these lyrics. It's written in poetical form, so you kind of have to take a little time when you read this poetry. It reads different than narrative. This is the voice of the female in the story. And she starts the story like this. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is more delightful than wine. Pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes. Your name is like perfume poured out. No wonder the young women love you. Take me away with you. Let us hurry. Let the king bring me into his chambers. Do you know what that means in Hebrew? Hubba, hubba, hubba. That's not really what it means in Hebrew, and that's not in here. I want to make that clear. That was just my imagination. Now let's skip to the wedding, because the beginning of the story shows this young woman. She's fallen in love with this guy. In the story, he's a king. Again, it's likely about King Solomon. And so he's a king. She's just a regular girl. She, at some point in the story, goes, why in the world would a guy like you be into a girl like me? You got a really thick little black book. I'm just a regular girl. I'm just a commoner. She literally says, my brothers forced me to work on the vineyards. And he falls hard for this regular girl. Again, remember the metaphor. We've got a divine bridegroom. who chooses to love messy, mistake-prone people like us. And here's where that truth really comes home. This is actually the wedding vows between Solomon and this woman. He says to her, this is in chapter 4, "How beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful. Your eyes behind your veil are doves. Your hair is like a flock of goats descending down the hills of Mount Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep just shorn, coming up from the washing. Each has its twin. Not one of them is alone." I'm going to stop right there, because when I said your hair is like a flock of goats, I just sensed I lost some of y'all. He's not saying she needs better conditioner. He's saying, based on the historical markers, she has long, wavy black hair. He says your teeth are like sheep that have just been washed. They're twins. In other words, she has white teeth and they're even. That's a big deal. This is pre-dental care. So he's saying you have a beautiful smile. And then we get to the best part of the marriage vows. Remember, he's a king. And remember, Solomon is the one who built the temple. We don't know what stage of construction the temple is in, but she and he are at the top of that hill in Jerusalem next to a temple. And he says to her, and remember, it's a royal wedding. We're told that all throughout this NIV Application Bible. It's a royal wedding. And he says to her in front of tons of people, just think William and Kate. He says, this king says to this commoner, chapter 4, verse 9, "You have stolen my heart, my sister, my bride." That's just a common term of endearment back then. "You've stolen my heart with one glance of your eyes." Years ago, I went away in my 30s for a weekend. A friend had given me their beach house. It rained the entire time. And the only thing I brought with me was my Bible and a commentary on the Song of Songs. And I thought, I'm not even sure I'm allowed to study this. I'm not married. This is kind of racy. It's almost like God's version of the Kama Sutra. That's all I had to read, and it rained the whole time. I spent that entire 3 days studying the Song of Songs, and I was blown away by the intimacy in this, especially that promise right there. "With one glance, you captured my heart." I never thought God could delight in me. I thought I was too dirty and too damaged. I knew he had delivered me from my sin. But the idea that this holy God condescends to be known by us and actually records himself as saying, "One glance, and you captured my eyes." Those are the kind of facts you pick up over and over and over again in this particular translation with all these applications. Listen to this application. "We live in a world saturated by sex, while people remain desperate for love. True erotic love, in the context of deep commitment, is in short supply. Eros focuses on the particular woman and the particular man, the beloved himself or herself. In the midst of the sexualized and depersonalized world in which men and women question their unique worth and beauty, endure assaults on their sense of self, and know deep alienation, Eros calls us to mutual affirmation, respect, and intimacy." This is the antidote to loneliness. This is the antidote to those of us who think, how in the world could a perfect God like that actually delight in a damaged human like me? I love the applications in this Bible. Remember, this is not a textbook. It's not a rule book. It's not a collection of divine morality tales. It is a love story. It's for us to lean more intimately into the unconditional love of Jesus, who says to you today, through this inscripturated promise, "Just one glance, and you captured my heart." That's a miracle, isn't it?